In this tutorial, we're going to go over the blend shader type, which is very similar to top-bottom. It will get you a little bit different results, and it's actually a little bit more interactive in that you can control the blend of textures a little bit better. But it will look the same. So if you're happy with top-bottom, you can use that, or you can use this blend. I've put one together here. This is the same scene I was using before. And now this is using the blend shader type. And of course it's going to look a little bit the same as what you're used to, but I'll show you the difference. Okay, before I get going here, I'm just going to drag a new shader in there and drag the shader over here so I start where you guys start. Okay, I'm in my material. There we go. I'm in my material editor here. I'm going to go where it says standard and use blend. And again, you can use whatever you want there. And this is what blend looks like. It's got two slots, but this time it gives me a mask or a control image. And that's the big difference. These two slots here are loaded just the same as what we did with top and bottom. So I go into diffuse color. I pick one of my textures. In this case, I'll pick the reddish one first. I'm going to tile them a whole lot because I know I'm going to have tiling issues just like before, so I'm going to do 25 by 25. I'm going to go into my second slot, same thing. I'm going to pick the other texture, and again I'm going to tile this one, I don't know, 35 by 35, just because I know I'm going to have tiling issues from before, and good enough. Okay, this is actually already applied. If you want to see the material that's applied and see the tiling, you can go click your button under the Maps channel. And in this case, I can see some squares down here, so I'm going to tile this just a little bit more to get rid of some of this tiling down here. Now, if I render this right now, I'm really not going to get anything. All I'm going to get is one image applied to the landscape. What I have to do is go up to the top of the stack and go to this mask. And what I want to put in there is the original displacement map, which in my case was this one, for the landscape. You either made this in Photoshop, or if you didn't make it in Photoshop and you made it using Paint Displace, you can either go get the Paint Displacement map, which I have not shown you how to do. You'll have to look that up. Or you can make a new one in Photoshop. Either or, it's fine. It's not going to matter however you want to do it. And I'm going to say open. Now, that map is in my channel here. You can see it's right there. You only get one channel. You don't get a maps channel here. And it's that image, and that's what's controlling the blend of these two materials. Wherever it is black is one material, wherever it's white is another material, and the grays in between are controlled by this mix amount. So if I render this now, you'll see some green patches up on top of the hills here. It's really blurry because my mix amount is so even. So what I'm going to do is say use curve, and I'm going to make the transition zone more straight up and down. You can use either the upper or the lower, it doesn't matter. This is the angle at which the blend will occur, and you'll see now that these greenish areas are more obvious. I will go back in and make them even more obvious here by making a specular highlight on them and making that highlight a green. And now when I render it, you'll see that they're greener where they transition. I'm going to make this a dark green. There we go. And that'll turn it a little bit more dark green. Okay. So now I've got a decent transition whoops, wrong button. Decent transition working here. Remember, that has to be straight up and down or close to straight up and down for the transition to really look good. Otherwise, it'll look pretty sloppy. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to go into each texture. I'm going to make a bump map instance. And in this case, I need a little bit of specular highlighter. I won't be able to see the bump. And I need to make the bump higher because that's not going to work too well if I don't. Okay, so now I got a little bit bumpier surface. There we go. It's subtle again, but it's starting to look good. I'm going to drop these maps into specular color and specular level. I'm going to go back up to the top, and I'm going to go back into my other map and do the same thing. So bump, instance, make the bump amount higher, drag this into specular color and specular level. And now if I render this, a little bit slower render, but you'll start to see some bumpiness down here. There we go. You can see the bumps down here at the bottom. So I get a little bit more foreground definition. And I think I'm going to try, maybe this one I'll dump into self-illumination just to see what that does. That might make it too bright. No, actually I think that makes it a little bit better. It kind of blends this area here. Let's try this with this last one here. Whoops, wrong one. This one. I'm just going to take the map and drag it into the self-illumination channel. See if that's too bright. That's just going to bring out the contrast a little bit better. And I think I'm going to take it off of this last map, but leave it on the first one. There we go. And I think I'm going to leave that as finished. So that's my landscape using the blend shader. A little different than top-bottom because you got that mask ability that now you could paint in something like trails. You could paint in marks where your tank has left gouges in the ground, and there'd be a different texture in those areas that you paint into.